the kindest, giving. If I could tell you some of the things that he's done out of just pure heart with no compensation, the amount of money that he spent in travel expenses, the amount of time that he spends on websites without being compensated, the amount of time that he spends with people without even thinking about how he's going to get remunerated, it's mind-boggling because I watch him for 14 straight days. Actually, it's more like 21 straight days, how his phone rings and how he operates, and the guy does not stop. Let's hear it for our Nikian ambassador for 2010, Mr. Bob Proctor.
Thank you, William. Thank you, sir.
Welcome to Cincinnati. Have fun.
Great. Good evening. Tonight we're going to go fairly fast through quite a bit of material. And it's not necessary that you take a whole lot of notes. The entire program is to just get one point across at the end. And so what we're going to do is lay a foundation. When we get to that point, you'll understand it. How many of you are tired of setting goals and it doesn't work? You see? And a lot of people do that. A lot of people do it. We find people that they get to silver, and 4 years later they're still at silver. Or they may be at one of the positions below silver. Bronze, yeah. They may be at, honestly, I have never paid any attention to those positions. And I don't know why, I just haven't. See, I really believe there's only one position, and it's silver. But you'll find a person at bronze, and they've been around 3 or 4 years. Now, it's not because they don't know how to do it. They do know how to do it, but there's something stopping them. And I refer to that as the terror barrier. And it's a matter of making decision, but it's more than decision, it's also understanding. And without the understanding, the terror barrier will win all the time. And I really believe that's why there's so many people, good people, work hard, study, and yet they just don't make it. So what we're going to go through are a number of ideas to put this one point across at the end, and then you've got the rest of the weekend. You're going to get some great information as you go through the rest of the Team Diamond event. Now, let that little dot right in the center of the screen represent your level of awareness. We'll let that's going to graphically represent your level of awareness. And then let everything you have in your life, everything that you have, your relationships, the income you're earning, the health that you enjoy or don't enjoy, all the results in your life are an expression of your level of awareness. You got the idea? The dot represents your level of awareness. Now, this would be the same for everybody. It would just be different. It would be, but relatively the same thing. Now, imagine how your life would change if we expanded it just that much. I have watched people's lives change like night and day. I have worked at this now for, since 1968. I've studied it since 1960-61. I've worked in prisons, in maximum security prisons. I have seen the Canadian Parole Board tear up people's parole, give them back a passport so they could go to England when I was opening an office there. I could tell you a dozen stories of people who have come out of the prisons. I have watched kids go from a C and D average to an A and B average, and I've watched many, many people earn millions of dollars. And it's not difficult, but if you don't understand this terror barrier concept, odds are pretty good you're going to stay stuck. And I think that's too bad. Now, all the studying, all the reading, what it's done, it's expanded your level of awareness. Now, this weekend, your awareness is going to expand again. And just imagine how your life would change if your awareness expanded. Now, think of this. People are not earning $50,000 a year because they want to earn $50,000 a year. They're earning $50,000 a year because they're not aware of how to earn $150,000 a year. You say, well, there's more to it than that. No, there's not. Awareness is the only thing we ever have to get. Like, we've always been able to fly airplanes. We just weren't aware of how to fly airplanes. But everything we needed to fly airplanes was always here because nothing's created or destroyed. So we've got to try and understand this. If a person's suffering from headaches, it's because they're not aware of how to eliminate the headache. It's their head. They made it ache. They can make it stop. You're not a head. You have a head. And if your head's aching, you have made it ache. And so what we want to do is become aware of how to change some of these things. And as we become aware, our life changes. Now, if we just expanded it a little more, think of how our life would change. You see, that's what happens to people in Nikan. That's really what happens to them. When William and I were doing the meetings over in Europe, it was kind of neat. By the way, Wolfgang Sonnenberg is really a nice guy. He's a very classy guy. He's one of the nicest people I have ever met. I thoroughly enjoyed working with him, and you get the opportunity to visit with him, you should. But here we had him on at the beginning of the program, the guy that's been given the $1 million bonus check. And then at the end of the program, where we're talking about people turning their annual income to a monthly income, we had Angelica up there, who had been his secretary when he was a lawyer. And she earns as much now every month as she did every year as a secretary. So we had the examples right there in front of everyone, and it was kind of neat. Now, how did she take her annual income from what it was to what it is? It's kind of nice, you know, every month to get a check for what you used to work all year for. Well, it's expanding your awareness. Now, if we continue to expand the awareness, our whole world begins to change again. So if we can lock into the idea, this is really what we're after. We want to expand our awareness. Now, you see, the ultimate aim of all human beings, the promise of all religions that have maintained their balance over any period of time, has been on the emotional appeal of a future promise that you will one day become one with your God. You will one day sit on the right hand of. Now, I don't care whether you're Christian, Jew, Hindu, it really doesn't make any difference. That is the emotional appeal of a future promise that has enabled religions to maintain their balance over any period of time. You would become aware of your oneness with that which is. And the more we become aware of it, the more it's reflected in our life. It's all in awareness. And that's what we're seeking, is awareness. Now, as we expand our awareness, you're going to find your income will go up, your PIN level will go up, you won't work as hard, you'll earn more, you'll do less, and have more fun. And you're going to find that time and money freedom is going to be the reward, because that is really what this company offers. In my opinion, in 40 years of working around corporations, this is the best opportunity that I have ever come across. Now, I've said that many times, and I just keep repeating it, because it is. I don't know of any better. Now, if we expand it again, imagine where our life would go. It just keeps getting better and better and better. So when we talk about be aware, let's be aware of why we're stuck. Let's be aware of what it's going to take to get to the next level. So what I want to do is we're going to run through a whole bunch of ideas. And since we don't have a lot of time, we're going to go fairly fast. And we will then get to the idea at the end of the night where you'll see. And it's a fairly simple concept, but we'll lay a foundation for it. Before we start, I think, I don't know if they're around or not, but William and I just walked in here today. I was working in Detroit yesterday for a company and drove down here this morning. Changed quickly, come down, and everything was laid out. All I had to do is plug the computer in and put a battery in the little mouse here, and away we go. But there was a lot of work done to arrange this and have this all done, ship the material here and rent the hotel and do everything that's done. And there's 3 people that have mainly been responsible for putting this all together. It was Jan Todd, Gina Hayden, who has worked with me for the past 18 years, and Pixie Lowe, who has been working with us. All right? So I would like you to give them a hand, because they did a lot of work to put this together. They really did. They did a great job. Now, there's the deal. Awareness is really what we're after. And as we become more aware, we're going to start to think more. And the more we think, the better off we're going to be. It just keeps getting better and better and better. So you'll find that Nican is a phenomenal opportunity. We want to really be aware of what a phenomenal opportunity this is. I hear of people leaving Nican. I had one person who was a diamond distributor that left, and they said that they had to because their people wasn't earning any money. And you see, I thought it was that person's responsibility to show the people how to earn the money, because that's how you earn your money. But that person didn't understand that. I heard of somebody else leaving today, and not here in America, but somewhere else, and I thought it's rather sad. Do you know what their problem is? Ignorance. It's a lack of awareness. They're going somewhere else where the opportunity isn't anywhere near the same, but they're going to do the same thing there as they did here because they're taking their head with them. Do you see? I did this for a while. I mean, I moved all over. I was running around Brazil when I was 17, and I used to think if I could just get there, things would get better. Well, they actually got worse because I was going in the wrong direction, picking up speed, and moving to a different place didn't do me any good. So we've got a great opportunity here, and we really want to take advantage of it. Now, if we're not aware, we miss the opportunity. All right? Now, you're aware that you can go to the top in Nican, and you can take your team with you. You might not know how. Now, think of that. You can go to the top, and you're aware of that. You can go to the top of this company, and you can take your entire team with you. You might not know how. Now, here's the beautiful truth. You don't have to know how. You only have to know that you will. No one knows how to get to the top. Do you know, we were doing a meeting for Oddman Berger in, I don't know, wherever we were, in Hamburg, was it? And he asked William and I if we would talk to his team before we did the meeting. So we said, sure. So we were there, and we held the meeting in this like reception, and at the end of the meeting, we opened it up for questions. And there was a few people asking questions, and then it sort of got quiet, and I said, I'd like to ask a question. And Wolfgang was standing there, and I said, when did you decide you were going to be a royal ambassador? He said, the day they announced it. And I said, what level were you at then? He said, I was a diamond, not a very strong one. And he said, I made up my mind that I would do that. And he said, I thought about it, and I thought it would kind of be nice to get the $1 million check at a conference. And he thought they'd run the conference in about 2.5 years in May. So he set the goal in May. Now, they held the conference in April, but he got the check in May, 2.5 years later. Now, he said the first year, he did about 30 million. You have to do 100 million over the 2 years. So that meant he did the 70 million the second year, you see. But here's the point. He did not know how that was going to happen. You don't have to know how it was going to happen. I've had the pleasure of working with Ed Hillary on 3 different occasions, and I can tell you from personal experience in talking to him, he did not know how to get to the top of the mountain until after he got to the top of the mountain. The Wright brothers did not know how to get the plane off the ground until they got it off the ground. They were as probably as surprised as anybody when it got off the ground. You see? No, but that's the way it is. You know what I'm saying? Earl Nightingale used to do a little skit on Edison. He says, can't you just see it now? He'd be holding the light bulb, would go on, and he'd go, hello, hello? You know, he didn't really know what he had. You see? Now, this quote by Hoffer, you've probably heard me say before. I think it's a classic. As William's already told you, I've been around the planet for a little while now, and I've had the pleasure of working with some really remarkable people, some extraordinary people, and Eric Hoffer was one of them. Back in 1970, he received the Human Resource Award. I was on the program with him, and he said what's on the screen here, and I never forgot it. He says, in times of change, the learners will inherit the earth. Now, I took that to be metaphorical for that we will be happy, healthy, and prosperous. The learners will inherit the earth. Well, he said the learned will find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. Do you see, there's some people think they already know it all. But this is the way we're programmed. We were programmed to buy that idea. We got the wrong idea about education. There's no finish line to education. Education comes from the Latin educo, meaning to educe, to develop, or to draw it from within. It's just become aware of what you've got. You've already got it. You don't have to get anything. It's becoming aware of what you've got. So, my advice and what we are trying to put across on the call every Monday is never stop studying. Just don't ever stop studying. Okay? Now, you know and I know that the economy is changing. And you know, it's because the economy is changing that network marketing, I believe, came into being. I think the time was right. It was time. It was really time. That's really what it was. The idea of the one person getting it all the time, and everybody else just getting what that person wanted to dole out, had to come to an abrupt halt. There was a time when management exploited the people, and lo and behold, labor unions came into being. And it was good because they were necessary and they brought things into balance. But then it went away the other side. Then the labor union started to control management, and it got out of balance again. So whatever we need, we will attract as we need it. It just sort of works that way. It's kind of nice. Well, you see, we needed a system where we could get the opportunity to live the way we want, regardless of what's happened in the past, regardless of who we were, or where we were going, or what we were doing. Every day our life starts over, and we want to really understand that. It's very important that we understand that. See? Now, Bill Gates said one thing is clear. We do not have the option of turning away from the future. You can't do it. There's a lot of people saying, geez, I wish we could go back to the good old days. These are the good old days, right now. And he pointed out, no one gets to vote on whether technology is going to change our lives. Technology is going to change our life, and it's going to continue to change our life, and it's not going to slow down. The way we travel in the air now is going to be old-fashioned in a very short period of time. It's going to be old-fashioned. I do a lot of international travel, and I've always said you should fly in the front of the plane and the back of the car. And on British Airways, they give you a bed, and they give you pajamas, and they give you a duvet, and you just get right into bed. You know, and they ask you if you want to be woken up for breakfast before you land. And I don't know, I'll say maybe some coffee and juice or something. And then Kendall comes along with a private jet. Now, I'm a Canadian, and I live in Canada. And when you go into Canada, you've got to go through customs and immigration. And when you leave, you've got to go through customs and immigration. And it's a headache sometimes. The crowd that's in the room is a small crowd. And you're at the end of the line. And you've got to wait and wait and wait. And you've got to walk for miles to get to them. And we flew in from Tampa into Toronto. And was it ever cool? They came to see me. Man, did I love that. They come right out to the plane. I showed them my passport, and they said, go ahead. And the car's waiting at the plane. And then the limo takes you right to the plane. And they take the bags out of the trunk. And I thought, God, this idea of flying in the front of the plane and the back of the car has just got old. So we're quickly working on selling Kendall on the idea that that should be an everyday thing. Now, there's 3 questions that you want to ask yourself. 3 good questions. All right? What am I doing? Okay? What works? And what doesn't? I remember Linda was holding a meeting after a Team Diamond event one time. It was a pretty big crowd. It was about this size. And we had question period, and there was a lady sitting in the center of the room, and she said, I don't know what to do. She says, I talk about this every day, but I don't do it. And I thought, hello. That's everybody's story. I talk about it every day, but I don't do it. You see? Well, what are you doing? What works and what doesn't? They're good questions. You see? Now, what do most people do when they begin to have financial problems? I'll tell you exactly what they do. They lower their standard of living to meet their income. You see? They start cutting back. Now, what we want to understand is timidity is not a strategy for the new economy. You can't move forward when you're cutting back. You've got the opportunity here to change your income at will. It's just a decision. and you change your mind, you change your income, and away it goes. Now, you're going to find that successful people take their income up to meet their standard of living. That's what you want to make up your mind you're going to do here this week. Now, you want to make a decision to understand the law of compensation with you can. Okay? Earl Nightingale one time, Earl Nightingale was a marvelous employer, a great leader, just a phenomenal mentor and a very good friend. And I had the just extraordinary fortune of working with Earl side by side with him for 5 years. I was with them longer than that, but right in their office and the next office for 5 years. And it was really quite an extraordinary opportunity. And he said, most people think they want more money than they really do, and they settle for a whole lot less than they could get. And I thought that is the battle cry of a lot of wellness consultants. Now, just see, the beautiful truth is you can earn all the money you want. You really can. You can earn all the money you want. There is absolutely no limit to it. The law of compensation clearly states that the amount of money you earn is always going to be an exact ratio to the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty there will be in replacing you. Now think of that. The need for what you do. What do you do? What you really do is show people a system, an opportunity that will enable them to live the life God meant them to live. Do you know what way that is? The way you want. You have free will. You have the ability to choose. J. Martin Coe wrote a book called Your Greatest Power, and your greatest power is your ability to choose. Is there a need for that? There is a screaming need for that all over the world. We found that in Helsinki, in Hamburg, in Munich, in Zurich, everywhere we went, all across the United States, everywhere, all kinds of different cultures, but everywhere people were looking for this. We have products in this company that you can't buy anywhere else. You can't get them anywhere else. They're medical breakthroughs. That biaxial rotation will be looked at by future generations the way we looked at Edison's light bulb. It will change the entire health industry. And we have people walking around with it that don't even know what it is. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. You see, if you look at the second one, your ability to do it, I always suggest that that's the one you focus on. The third one was the difficulty there will be in replacing you. Now, ask yourself this. How difficult would it be for Nican to replace you and your volume, your leadership? It's a good question, isn't it? I remember working at jobs, they'd let me go, they wouldn't hire anybody to replace me. But you know the crazy part? I never got the message. I used to think they'll be sorry. If we really dedicate ourselves to improving our ability to communicate this idea, you're going to be very difficult to replace. You saw Reed Nelson up here tonight. Saw William. Those two guys would be very difficult to replace. How many of you have got 2 application forms with you? I asked Reed if he had his applications. He had them. William, I said, have you got yours? He's, what do you think? I said, I don't know. Let me see. See, I thought maybe he was bluffing. He pulled them out. Now, look at the bottom here. How about mastering our presentation? How about making up our mind that we're going to master our presentation? We're going to become a crack shot. You see, logic would dictate, if this is as good as we say it is, if it will do what we say it'll do, if a person can earn hundreds of thousands of dollars a month without working hard, the higher they go, the more they earn, the less responsibility they take on, and the less work they have to do. it stands to reason very few people would turn that down. Would some? Yeah, I suppose some would, but not very many. Would you agree? Now, if we're having difficulty finding people, it must be because we're not explaining it properly. Would you agree with that? How many would agree with that? So, do you see, if we make up our mind, we're going to get this presentation, we're going to get it down so pat that we're going to be a cracked shot. We just won't miss. And you'll walk around with the beautiful confidence that you know you can sell it. Now, I got the idea on a plane, through group discussion while we're on the plane, that North America should be sponsoring 20,000 new wellness consultants a month. Every month. There's millions of people. I saw on television where there's 1 billion cell phones in the world. Did you know that, William? 1 billion. 1 billion cell phones. There's 1.5 million cell phones here in America. That doesn't even count Canada. These people are into moving ahead with things. Well, why don't we get our presentation down pat? Do you know if you just took 15 minutes a day to really simulate, don't practice, simulate your presentation? It's called imagined reality. I know a few actors, some pretty big ones too, and I've talked to them. Now, the real big ones are big because they're real good, you see. And they can make you laugh, they can make you cry, they stir your emotions, they really get you. And you know, the words they're saying, they didn't even originate. They got a script from someone. And they read it, and they reread it, and they reread it, and they memorized it, and then they internalized it, and then they became it. What if we did that with a presentation? See, I happen to think if we put together just a short but very good PowerPoint presentation, all you have to do is just touch the button and the screen changes. You see? I think it's like, see, Bill Gates invented the PowerPoint. It was a storyboard. That's how it started. It was a storyboard for him, just a story, and it would take you through it. Well, in 10,000 Healthy Millionaires, we're going to put one together. And you'll be able to get a CD, just stick it in your computer, and away it goes. Now, you see, NECAN is where you can earn the amount of money you need to provide the things you want to live the way you choose. That's a pretty beautiful concept. That's what you can do here, and that's what you can sell. It's a beautiful idea. You can have time, you can have fun, you have money, you have travel, you have family. You can build a business. You see, it's all about freedom. That's really what it's about. It's about freedom. This is so good that if you weren't real good at presenting it, people wouldn't believe you. They would think you're exaggerating. You see, everyone wants freedom. Everyone wants freedom. They really do. They want time and money freedom. And I always say you'll be amazed how much free time you have when you never have to think about money. It's just amazing how your life changes. Now, William talked about the zone. We're going to be starting calls on Lead the Field, and we're going to teach you how to get in zone. Because getting in zone is a mental thing. You watch some of these sports, these athletes. You watch some of them that they'll jump up, they're going just like a mile a minute, and there's some great big guy just about to hit them, and they go up and they pull the ball down with one hand. You know, everything's in slow motion in their mind. They say they're in zone. You watch them turn and whoosh, the ball's gone. It doesn't even touch the hoop. Right in the basket. Gretzky used to say he would go to where the puck's going to be. You see, that's in zone. Well, we can get like that with this business. You can just attract people into your life. You can sit down and you can cause them to want what you've got because what you've got is that good. You see? NECAN is showing everyone who wants to win the way to financial freedom. Without question, this is a unique business opportunity where dreams can come true. It is really an extraordinary opportunity. And I believe if we don't learn how to break through the terror barrier, we're going to be in the same position, many of us are, next year as we are right now. Because some of you are in the same position right now as you were a year ago. Most people, if they're having financial problems today, they did last year. If they're having problems with relationships today, they did last year. Why? Well, we keep repeating because there's something inside that causes us to do what we do. And until we change that, we're not going to win. We've got to break through that terror barrier. Now, you and I have infinite potential. We have infinite potential. There is no end to what we are capable of doing. No one can even guess at what you and I are capable of doing. No one. We've just got phenomenal power. And that is because we are spiritual beings. I was telling somebody yesterday, if they have a program and that spirit isn't a part of, the program's not complete. And there's many programs around, personal growth programs are good programs, they're incomplete. Because if spirit isn't involved in the program, then you're not dealing with primary causes. You're not dealing with original cause. And then you're dealing with secondary causes. That's where they got into behavioral sciences. They were dealing with behavior. Behavior is an expression. You see? We have to ask what causes the behavior. And if we don't understand this, then we're going to be in a little bit of trouble. You hear people say they're having a spiritual experience. That's a lot of jazz. We are having a physical experience. We are spiritual beings. And you know something? In truth, you're perfect. Perfection is within every one of us. The essence of you is perfect. Perfect. And what we want to do is become aware of how to let some of that perfection express itself with and through us. In all we do. We have been gifted with an intellect. Most people are not even aware of their intellectual factors. And it's how we use those intellectual factors that's going to dictate our emotional state. Now, think of this for a moment. Spirit is omnipresent. It's 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. Okay? And this is important that we understand this. I talked in the law of vibration and other lessons that we give out with the laws in it, that everything operates by law. The law is the uniform and orderly method of the omnipotent God. It's like Einstein said, God did not roll dice with the universe. Okay? Everything in the universe operates by law. Well, one of the laws is the law of vibration. The law of vibration decrees everything moves, nothing rests. We actually live in an ocean of motion. That wall is moving. Now, it appears to be still. It's only still relative to something else. It is moving. If you looked at it through a proper microscope, you'd see it moving. A body in a coffin is moving. We say it's dead. There's no such thing as dead. If nothing's created or destroyed, that just postulates one theory, the theory of life. You have left the body. The soul has left the body, but the body is not dead. The body is moving, and if you look at it through a proper microscope, you'd see it moving so fast in front of your eyes that it appears to be still. Yet if it wasn't moving, how would it ever change to dust? Now, this should keep you thinking for about 20 years. But one of the laws is the law of vibration. And the law of vibration is more commonly referred to as frequencies. Pat Barry knows something about frequencies. He's broadcasting all the time on different frequencies. Like there's music in this room right now. You don't hear it, but it's in this room. You don't hear it because your hearing sense does not operate on the frequency that the music is being broadcast on. But if you brought in a little transistor radio and turned it on, it would pick it up on that frequency, send it out on another frequency that your ears are to, and you would hear it. There's pictures in this room. You don't see them, but they're in this. You've got pornographic pictures in this room. You've got soap operas in this room. You've got Law and Order going on in here. All the different movies are going on in this room. But you don't see them because they're not on the frequency that your eyes operate on. But if you brought in a little transistorized television set, you would pick up the picture. Now, did you invite the picture into the room, or did you tune into something that was already here? Do you know the good you want is already here? You got to get tuned into it. It's not on the same frequency that you're operating on. Yet until you get on the frequency that your good's on, you're never going to see it. This is really important. Now, think of this for a moment. The higher side of your personality is spirit. And the lower side, of course, is the physical. And then sitting in between the two, you have your intellect. Now, these are not separate parts of your personality because all the parts are all hooked together. Each frequency is hooked up to the one above and the one below. There's no line of demarcation where one thing stops and the other starts. If you just go by your eyes will deceive you. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. Whatever you sow, you reap. You want to smarten up. You want to wake up. You want to see what's going on. I'm not talking about a religious trip. I'm talking about a healthy, conscious awareness of who and what you are and what you're working with. If you don't understand what you're working with, the odds of using it effectively are rather slim. But here we're dealing with something that's pretty powerful. So let's take a look. You've got the spiritual side of your personality, you've got the intellectual side of your personality, and you've got the physical side of your personality. Now, the intellectual side of your personality goes to work and it taps into the higher side and it pulls thoughts together and it builds ideas. Well, those ideas then must, by law, begin to move into form. That's called the perpetual transmutation of energy. In religion, that's called prayer. Prayer is movement that takes place between spirit and form with and through us. If we can really grasp who we are and what we're working with, we can make marvelous things happen. We really can. There you go. Let's back it up and let it just fall into place. Okay? Now just think, look at that as you. This graphically is communicating you. And you can put your marvelous intellect to work and you can see yourself as the person you want to be. And you're going to find that if you hold that idea must by law move into form. See, Andrew Carnegie told Napoleon Hill, he said, any idea that is held in the mind, any idea that's emphasized, that's either feared or revered. This happens with bad as well as good, you know. Make sure you know what you want because you're going to get it. It's like the great sufferer in the Bible, Job. He says, lo, the thing I fear has come to visit upon me. Well, Carnegie said, any idea that is held in the mind, that's emphasized, that's either feared or revered, will begin at once to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate physical form that's available. Well, there you have it. See, there's only a couple of things you have to know. You have to know where you are, and number two, you have to know where you're going. I will be forever grateful to a man named Raymond Douglas Stanford. Because a lot of people talked to me about where I was going, trying to get me to set goals. And I didn't understand what they were talking about, and it never really worked. Ray spent more time talking to me about where I was. Most people don't know where they're at. They're not honest with themselves. If you're not honest where you're at, you can't win. I was unhappy, I was sick, and I was broke. And I had always been that way. I had no formal education, I had no business experience, and I was totally convinced that I was never going to win. He said, that doesn't make any difference. He said, your results are neither good nor bad. Everything just is. It just is. You're going to make it good or bad. So you have to ask yourself, do I want these results? And I said, well, no. And he said, then go ahead and change them. Just forget it, though. But you know where you're at. And he said, you've got to take responsibility for your results. I was blaming her, him, it, them, everything. But until you take responsibility for your results, until you know exactly where I am stuck at silver, I am not doing what I should be doing, and I've got to know why I'm not doing it. This doesn't make sense. I'm an intelligent being. I am the highest form of creation on the planet, and I'm sick of living this way, and I'm going to change it. Now, when you get real honest and you see that's where you're at, see, that's what William did. That's what he did. He came to me and he said, he says, I'm stuck. He said, would you help me? I see. And I said, okay. And I really liked him for what he said next. He said, can my people listen in? And I said, okay. He said, can anybody? And I said, okay. In the Science of Getting Rich, in chapter 14, where it's leaving everybody with the impression of increase, it's ended with a quote from a man named Golden Rule Jones. I believe he was the mayor of Kansas City at one time. He says, what I want for me, I want for everybody. And that was essentially what William was saying. You see? William was saying, I was very generous. I would have to get up very early to beat him. He was telling me he was going to Amsterdam. And I said, make sure you go to the museum and look at Night Watch. How many have seen Night Watch? Isn't that something else? I mean, that is, if you've never been there, it's as long as that wall. It's a perfect painting. It's one of Rembrandt's masterpieces. You can stand and I'm not an art critic or, I don't know much, but I could stand and stare at that thing for hours. It has a hypnotic effect on you. Absolutely beautiful. And I told him 2 or 3 times, make sure you go and see it. You got to go and see it. So I was talking to him on the phone. I said, did you see it? And he said, yeah. Well, he was in Toronto for, what was he in Toronto for? Was it the tour? I guess it was. At any rate, he said, I got something in the hotel for you. I got a birthday present for you. Did you know what he had? He had a replica of Night Watch. Beautifully framed. I mean, the frame itself is just incredible. And I didn't even know what to say. It's absolutely incredible, So I want to publicly thank you. I mean, because that was, So he knew I really liked it. And that's not something you go and buy for yourself, Night Watch. I mean, I never even knew you could get it, I used to go to Amsterdam just to look at it, And now I can sit right in the room that I sit in and look at the handsomest man in Nican, Mr. Schwab. I can sit in that room and I can look at it. Next time we tune in, I'll turn it on the wall and you can see it, right? Happy birthday. You're just a kid. All right. Dr. J.B. Rhine said that the mind is the greatest power in all of creation. I periodically have people come up and tell me, no, God is. And I said, wait a minute, read it and think. It says it's the greatest power in all of creation. God is the creator, the mind is the creation. It's the greatest power in all of creation. And we've all got this marvelous mind, you see. What do we want? We want to understand. I think we want to understand who we are, how we work. And then we want to take control over ourselves. So we talk about awareness. Now I want you to think about this. There are millions of levels of awareness. If you let where that little person is, that little stick person, represent you, then your results would be relative. Now, keep in mind, there's a million lines of levels of vibration below that as there's a million above it. This just communicates the idea. And as we move up, everything in our life changes. I think William and Reed were talking about it, but I got a call from Reed one day, and he sounded like he had just fallen in love or something. I mean, he was giddy. He was laughing. He was excited. And he had just become aware that he was never going to become a royal ambassador operating with the mindset that he had. And he and Yvonne had a talk, and you know something? Something happened inside. It was an awareness. And now he not only knows he is, he knows when he's going to be. You see, he just raised his level of awareness and his whole world changed. Now, your results, the results that you're getting, are nothing but an expression of your own level of awareness. You've got to become aware of why you have difficulty getting to the level you want to get to. You've got to become aware of why you're stuck. Now, you only improve your results to increase your level of awareness. The only way to improve your results is by increasing your level of awareness. There is no other way. Now, effective goals inspire you to move to increasingly higher levels of awareness. See, you don't set goals to get things. I mean, what are you going to do when you got more things than you know what to do with? Some people, that's why they do it. To get things. And they got all these things, and they're unhappy. And they're sick. And they know they're on the wrong track, but they don't know how. That's not why you set goals. You don't set goals to get things. Now, do you get things when you set goals? Yeah. Is it fun to get things? Sure. Can you use them? Can you enjoy them? Yeah, but that's not the purpose of the goal. The purpose of the goal is you go after something you want to get you to stretch, to get you to raise your level of awareness, and when you do that, your whole world changes. It's not just the goal. Everything changes. Material wealth, happiness, peace of mind. You see? are all results of a higher level of awareness. Now, there's a basic law of life says everything is going to create or disintegrate. Your business is either going to grow or it's going to die. It's one or the other. It's not going to stay where it is. So it's create or disintegrate. You got to ask yourself, which way do you want your business to go? Because it's your choice. And you can get it to go whatever way you want. It's create or disintegrate. Now, there's something inside of you that wants you to grow. And that is the essence of you. That's the spiritual side of your personality, because spirit is always for expansion and fuller expression. Spirit is never for disintegration. When things are going the wrong way, any problems are the result of our thinking or our collective thinking. But never spirit. Never. Spirit always operates perfect, gives you exactly what you ask for, and you ask in thought. You become what you think about. That's what all the great leaders have agreed upon. So there's something inside of you that causes you to want to go higher. If you're a runner, you want to run faster. If you're rowing a boat, you want to grow it faster. If you're a jumper, you want to jump higher. If you're earning money, you want to earn more. If you're selling, you want to sell more. If you play golf, you want to cut a stroke off. There's something inside us that wants to grow. We will always be dissatisfied. Now, my grandmother pretty well raised me, and she was just an angel of God. She was a beautiful lady, but she was wrong. She said, you should be satisfied. Grandma was wrong. You should never be satisfied. You should be happy with what you've got, but dissatisfied. It's dissatisfaction that's given us the world that we've got. It's dissatisfaction that enables us to grow. It's dissatisfaction that causes us to live. We're not here just to put in time. Now, well, there's something in it that wants you to grow. There's something in you that doesn't want you to grow. It wants to hold you back. And that's the old paradigm. That's the old conditioning. We're conditioned genetically. We're conditioned environmentally. You could say that's the battle of Armageddon between the good and the bad. Now, you have to ask, how do you win? Goals decide which side wins. That's why it's so vitally important you have the right goal. And it's very important that you're going after what you want. And you know that only about 1 person in 100 is going after what they want? Now, this may sound strange. Most people are not going after what they want. They're going after what they know they can get. They're going after what they think they can get. But they're not going after what they want. And I'm going to go through that and I'm going to show you. And that's going to tie in with this terror barrier. And I think you're going to say, oh, now I see. Just awareness. Now, at each new level of awareness, your conditions, your circumstance, and environment change. You have to adapt to the change before you can see the next step. See, we don't know how to get to where we're going. We can see ourselves there, but we don't know how to get there. We only see one step at a time. You don't have to know how to get to silver. You don't have to know. You only have to know that you're going to do it. Yet you've got to do the thing that you see in your mind. I've got to do this. You take that step. And when you take that step, your conditions, circumstance, and environment change. You adapt to the change, and then you see the next step. And that's how you get there, a step at a time. It's always been that way. It's never been any other way. Anyone that's ever accomplished anything never knew how to get to where they were going until after they got there. So you see, the whole trick is to continually raise our level of conscious awareness. It's a beautiful concept. Now, you and I think in pictures. We think in pictures. You see? You don't see B-O-A-T or G-E-A-R or F-E-A-T-H. You don't see that. You see pictures. You don't think words. You think pictures. Think of your home. You don't see H-O-M-E. Think of it. Think of your children. You don't see C-H-I-L. You see the child. You see the physical person. You see the personality that they express. You see? Think of your automobile. You see? You got a picture of it. What's yours look like? Tan four-door. Gold Camry. Think of your refrigerator. Covered with pictures? What color is it? White. But you can see it in there, can't you? 2 doors, top and bottom. Do they open from the right to left or left to the right? Now, you just mentally went to your kitchen, didn't you? You did. You sat right there and you went into your kitchen. See how your mind works? Now think of your mind. What's it look like? Never saw it. Do you know that that's a problem? You know what Solomon said? Where there's no picture, the people will perish. Because picture brings order to your mind, and if there's no picture, there's confusion. And if there's confusion inside, there's confusion outside. Now, we don't like to be confused. You know what we do when we're confused? We turn our television on. We get lost in somebody else's world because we don't like that. Now, when you think of yourself, how do you get a picture of that? You're a triune being. You live simultaneously on 3 levels of understanding. You're a spiritual being. You have an intellect and you live in a physical body. There's your triune being. What picture do you get? You don't get one. Well, there was a good doctor back in 1934. And he said, we got a problem. He said, all we're doing is treating the physical. He was very much into the healing arts. And he said, if we're treating the physical, all we're doing is treating symptoms. Yet he said, we got to treat the whole person. This is holistic health. That's what holistic health means. It means treat the whole person. So I said, here's a picture for you. I refer to this as my magical graphic. Here's the mind. You see? Now that picture was first explained to me by Dr. Harry Roeder. And if Dr. Harry Roeder had not been in a Nikan book, I probably wouldn't be here, and Linda probably wouldn't be here, and a number of others, Santo, you probably wouldn't be here. Because Bo Tanis was trying to sell me on this idea, and he wasn't getting my attention. But he was flipping through a book, and I saw a picture of Dr. Harry Roeder. Now, Harry Roeder taught me what I know about the mind. If you go on our website, you go to my Bob Proctor website, you will see a quote there by Dr. John Mike from Florida. He's a specialist child psychiatrist. He said, I taught him more about the mind in 1 year than he'd learned in 4 years of medical school and 5 years of psychiatric training. I always found that rather amusing because what I taught him was just simply what Dr. Roeder taught me. Linda had put together a big album of pictures for my birthday. It was just beautiful. She did a wonderful job with it, and it's all in sections and everything. And there was one, here's pictures with when I was with the Nightingale Conant Corporation. Here's a picture of Earl Nightingale, Lloyd Conant, myself, and Dr. Harry Roeder, the 4 of us. I've got to send that to Harry because I know he would like to have it. But Harry taught me this. And you know, when he taught me this, my whole world changed. I had been studying this material for 9 years, and I knew I didn't understand it properly because I found it very confusing. I was winning. I had earned over $1 million in a year, but I did not understand what I was doing, and so I couldn't share it with anybody else. I had this non-transferable good thing, you see? And when Harry showed me this, everything started to fall into place. Order came into my mind. My whole world changed, and it changed like night and day. Now he said, let that represent your conscious mind, and let that represent your subconscious mind. Now this is a very important piece of information. He said, that's your thinking mind, and he said, that's your emotional mind. And he pointed out that the thoughts that you think turn into pictures in your mind, and then you impress them upon your emotional mind. It causes you to feel the way you feel. Your feelings are expressed through the only medium they can be expressed through, your physical body. And so your feelings are expressed in actions, and your actions produce your results. Now, we don't have time to go into this in any great depth, but you're going to get the idea, and we're going to go back and we will spend a whole lot of time in the future with this concept. I'll go through it a little more right now, but it's important that you understand that. I see my head as my mind. Now, I know it's not that way. I know my mind is in my kneecap. It's in my elbow. It's in my shoulder. It's in my toe. My hair. Mind is movement. Mind's not a thing. Mind is movement, and the body is the manifestation of that movement. So if there's a problem in your body, you know that the problem originates in the mind, because the body is just an instrument of the mind. The body just expresses what's going on in the mind. Now, William was saying, I turned 70 last week. I got more energy than most people 20. And I have absolutely no intentions of slowing down. See, I don't think we have to slow down. I think we should speed up. If we've got all the energy in the universe, if it's evenly present in all places at the same time, why would we ever want to slow down? You see, what we want to do is calm down. And when we calm down, then we let this beautiful power flow freely through us. Because that's what this is. It's an instrument that spirits works through. And spirit operates by law. And the more you can put out, the more you get back. And the more you get back, the more you have to put out. So you're just sort of like central, and it flows through you. And as long as you keep the body in excellent working order and you see it that way, then you're going to be a good servant. So the body is really the instrument of the mind. Now, if we take and look at this, we say the conscious mind, the subconscious, the conscious mind has hooked up to it your ability to see. You can hear, and you can smell, and you can taste, and you can touch. Now, these are hooked onto our conscious mind like little antennae. And unfortunately, I think that's what Moses referred to when he says, I give you both a blessing and a curse, because that's exactly what the senses are. They're both a blessing and a curse. You see, when we were children, we were programmed to live through our senses. So we go and look at our sales sheet, and our sales sheet tells us where we're at. Our sales sheet doesn't tell us where we're at. Our sales sheet tells us what we were doing in the past. And if we want to win, we've got to change something inside. And we don't want to look outside for it. But we have been programmed to live through our senses. That's why kids in school fail. Because they let the report card control them. I started to read this book, this particular copy, in '63. I take it everywhere I go. It's falling apart. But it's a great book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Now, he studied 500 of the world's most successful people, and he found there was a golden thread running through their life, and he put it in this book. And he points out in here that an educated person is not necessarily a person with an abundance of general or specialized knowledge. He said an educated person is a person who has so developed the faculties of their mind that they can acquire anything they want or its equivalent without violating the rights of others. How many know what the faculties of the mind are? Now, you all do, because we've talked about it on the call. You see? Here's the faculties of the mind. You have perception, the will, imagination, memory, intuition, and reason. Now, you would be wise if you taught that to children. And teach them that that is where their real power lies. Because it is where their power lies. You see? Now, do you know that you have a part of your personality where you can just walk by a person, you can read them just like a book? We actually hide nothing. Everything that goes on in the inside shows on the outside. We don't hide a thing. What is your name? Peggy. Peggy has a very sensitive side to her, a shy side to her, don't you? Shy. Sort of quiet, sensitive. Yeah, you hold your feelings in a lot. Lady there in the red. Very high energy. You got more ideas flying in your head than you can execute. Here. Howard here, he's got a very disciplined side to him. His wife would say he's stubborn. His boss would say he's persistent. But when he makes up his mind to do something, he'll go right through the wall to make it happen. He operates in the left hemisphere of his brain. You operate from the right. You say, well, how do you know that? Well, you see, the body is a molecular structure. The body's just a mass of energy and a high speed of vibration. And it casts off a ray of energy. The energy coming from the body is so potent and powerful that you can photograph it. And as you change the images in your mind, the density and the color of this energy changes. You see? That's how these little magnets work their magic. I was doing a meeting in Detroit last night. It was just an open group. You know, there's a few hundred people there, and this woman come up and she said, well, this thing about changing your energy, she says, I got a broken wrist. And she said, can you do anything about that? Or can I do anything about it? And I said, absolutely. So I went to my case, and I got one of these out, and she had it was wrapped, like Velcro holding the thing. So I said, just open it up, and I shoved one of these. And I said, yeah, that'll heal twice as fast now. And she said, why? And I said, well, there's a magnetic field here. And this magnetic field will cause this body to move back into harmony with the law of vibration. And that gives the natural healing mechanism in the body the opportunity to go to work. I said, you'll probably shock your doctor because your wrist is going to heal about twice as fast as normal. She said, really? And I said, leave it there. You'll figure it out. You see? You know? Well, we don't understand how these intellectual factors work. Do you know there's no such thing as a bad memory? Everybody has a perfect memory. We have a perfect memory. Most people have a weak memory. They've never developed, I haven't got a good memory. Then you haven't got a good memory. But we've got to understand we actually have a perfect memory. Now, it's how you use your intellectual factors that's going to determine your emotional state. With your intellectual factors, you live from the inside out. With your sensory factors, you live from the outside in. We've got to start living from the inside out and not the outside in. Now, you see, it's the way you use those intellectual factors that dictate the vibration the body's in. It's a beautiful concept. So there we go. Now, let's break it down. We'll just quickly go through this. The intellectual mind can think. Can think. You have the ability to accept or reject any idea. When somebody tells you you can't do something, reject it. Get to the point where you don't even hear it. Anything that is going to cause you to go any direction other than the one you want to go in, you reject it. I don't care how logical it is. I don't care how right they may appear. Think of this for a second. I'm going to tell you, Priscilla, that there's nothing printed on this book. Am I right or wrong? I'm wrong. You know I'm wrong, don't you? I mean, there's no question in your mind about it because you can see something on the book. You see? Now, if I insist nothing's printed on the book, you're going to insist there's something there, aren't you? You see? The truth is, I'm right. And so are you. See, just you being right doesn't make me wrong. See what I'm looking at? There's nothing on the book. What you're looking at, there's something on the book. Now, we're looking at the opposite side of the same thing. We have perception problems. I'm telling you that's the right side of the book. You'll tell me it's the left. It's the opposite side of the same thing. So it depends on how you're looking at something. Now, if your point of view, if your perception of a situation is not taking you where you want to go, change your point of view. As you change your point of view, everything will change. Okay? I have people tell me that there's something wrong with Nikan. You know what their problem is? It's a perception problem. You see? So if you get them focusing on what's good, do you know what will happen? They'll start to see what's good with Nikan. When we start to see what's good with Nikan, we start to see what's good with other parts of our life. It's just magic the way it works. There's nothing complicated about it. Would you agree with that, Kathy? Absolutely. It works every time. You see? We want to reject the negative. There used to be a song, accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, and don't mess with that other jazz, you see? All right. Now, the subconscious mind is the emotional mind. It operates quite differently. Now, it's important that you grasp this because this is where the terror barrier comes in. And the only reason I'm going through all this is just to lay a foundation for the point I want to put across. Your subconscious mind is not able to differentiate between what's real and what's imagined. It will accept anything you give to it, and it accepts it as real. That's why hypnosis works. You set aside a person's inductive reasoning factor, you go to their subjective mind like that, they will take anything you tell them as real. Now, some people say, well, you couldn't hypnotize me. There's only two people that cannot be hypnotized, an idiot or a drunk. Everybody else can be hypnotized. All right. You see? All right. Now, this is where the terror barrier concept really gets started. When you were born, that's how you entered the picture. Now remember what I said back here. Your subconscious mind is not able to reject. It can't differentiate between what's real and what's not. Well, now here you are when you enter the picture. Your subconscious mind is wide open. Your conscious faculties have not developed. And every idea that goes on around you goes right into your subconscious. That's why you speak the language you speak. I want you to turn around and tell me what color that woman is. Quick. Okay, turn that. What color? Black. Okay. What color am I? Is that right? What color are my shoes? My black. My shoes are her color? She's not black, is she? No, she's not. And I'm not white. What color is my shirt? Do you know if you ever saw a white person, you'd probably run? No, this is, but why do we say she's right? Why do we say she's black? And why do we say I'm white? Do you know why? You were programmed to say that. That's what you were programmed to see. This is real. This is real. Then we were programmed to say, yes, she's different than me. Why? Well, because she's different color. Well, she has a different body parts than I have. I'm going to tell you something. Toss the both of us into a fire and we will both reduce to exactly the same level. When you get past the surface, we're all the same. And you know what we're doing? We're living through our senses, and we're living through this programming, and this programming is a bunch of jazz. The truth is rarely in the appearance of things, and we've got to start to understand that.